Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Babs, the Rising VTuber and artist, and today we are going to be doing a little bit of character redesign. So, now that Artifight has concluded, I was doing that whole thing. Okay, has anybody played the game Super Punch-Out for the Wii? Or Punch-Out for the Wii? I don't remember the exact name of the game. But anyway, at the end of the game, I never got to this part as a kid. I actually do need to replay that game as an adult and see what happens with my superior, fully developed frontal lobe and therefore reflexes. At the end of the game, there's like this cutscene where your coach is like walking along this wall of trophies from the kind of fights you've been in and everything that you've been doing. And it's supposed to be this very touching moment. And I was kind of doing something like that with Art Fight, right? I was just like looking at the attacks I'd done this year. I was looking at the refs and I noticed that some of them were suboptimal. I didn't like how they looked. Some of these haven't been updated since 2022. That was 3 years ago. All right, that's like a long time to not be updating a reference. Like, my art style has changed significantly, and now these look kind of busted to me, right? Like this guy in particular, he was the worst offender. I was like, for a lot of these guys, I was like, man, I could really stand to spruce some of these guys up. But this guy in particular is, I don't know, he's just got so little going for him. I feel very bad for him. So that's what we're going to be working on. This guy is called Aster. So let's begin with a wish list of things that I want for the redesign. I think that's a good way to kind of guide our process and what we want. Okay, so this is in Pacific Regular? Yep. Okay, so redesign wish list. Redesign wish list. So one thing is that I want to make it more obvious that he is like an engineer. That's his particular thing. Is like he's supposed to be like a very robotic, almost very engineer heavy person. So robot plus engineer stuff. And his thing is that he doesn't really use the same power system as the rest of the cast. Like, while everybody's out there doing sorcery or, you know, wuxia martial arts and shit, this guy doesn't have the ability to use that the same way. So, maybe something like make it more obvious. More obvious. Non-magician? Actually, it does look a little bit like a magician. I'm not gonna lie, like a little, especially the top half, like the color scheme and with that hair. I do think there's a little bit of magician vibes. What else? He uses hidden weapons, so I do want to display to make that obvious. That's kind of, that's a little bit like oxymoronic, though, isn't it? Like, okay, so make more obvious. He uses hidden weapons. That's going to be difficult to do because the whole point of a hidden weapon is you don't expect it, you don't see it coming. So making it more obvious that he has those is it's a toughie. That's going to be a tough one to brain out. But yeah, those are the main things. So what I'm thinking for some of these, and this is just brainstorming, right? So, hang on. Let me actually put this in a folder along with this new layer that I just made. And let me switch to a black pen because that reads a little bit easier against the gray. Okay, so for this, I'm thinking like maybe overalls. Some kind of jumpsuit overalls kind of deal. I feel like those very strongly communicate the idea of somebody who's heavily involved with machinery. Overalls in particular. And I think overalls will also let us preserve a little bit of that aspect of, like, you know, being very obvious that he's built like a brick shit house. Welding mask, maybe? I'm going to fill in the little dark part of the welding mask because I feel like it looks too much like an Among Us if I don't. Okay. What other things are associated with, you know, there's wrenches, I think. There is a wrench like that, and there's also like a monkey wrench. I remember that thing vaguely looks like an F, but I don't remember what it actually... Like that sort of deal? I mean, to be honest, this also just looks like somebody with a really... This looks like Ferb from Phineas and Ferb wearing a really big hat. You see? Okay, maybe I just need to find a picture of a monkey wrench. I think that might be slightly faster than messing around with this. I do like working with my hands, and it's always a fine pleasure when I get to use tools, but I don't really get the opportunity to do it often. I don't regret investing in a good toolkit, though. I do think that something that has enriched my life greatly these past few years is just the fact that I have access relatively easily to, like, 2 good hardware stores in my town. Okay, let's see. So that's gonna be like this. Then like... Right, because the whole thing of this... Right. And then you got this, and then you got a little something like this. Okay. That makes sense. Okay, so that's some stuff that we have for, like, ideas of, like, engineering and such. I don't think he would have cybernetic limbs. I don't think the setting is right for that. I do have another character in the same setting who does have a set of advanced prostheses, but those are supposed to be super weird. Okay, non-magician... Maybe, like, some grays? I think that would also help fit in with the idea of, like, him being robotic. So maybe more kind of grays and sort of muted colors a little bit. Slightly less saturated than the other characters. And more obvious that he uses hidden weapons. The only thing that I can think of for that is, like, the utility belt that Batman has. I feel like that's strong enough in the cultural consciousness that... Hang on. Batman utility belt. Yeah, here we go. God, look... Hang on. Check it. Get a load of this diagram. Holy crap. Oh my god, that's so cool, actually. Wait. Gas belt dispenser. Rebreather. Crime scene recorder. Mother electronics circuit board inside the belt housing. Detachable palm top communicator. They were just giving this guy any old bullshit. USB plugs and connector. Voice activated. They were giving this guy any old shit. Acetylene torch? Batmobile wireless remote control. Okay, that one's actually fairly feasible given the current state of technology. Spring-loaded ejector, mini batarangs. What do you mean mini batarang and batarangs? What is the meaningful... they both fit in... You know what? Not worth thinking about. Digital micro camera. Tear gas pellet chambered for release. Having a Pez dispenser for tear gas is insane. Like, you couldn't even make that a smoke bomb? Why tear gas specifically? Spring-loaded magazine cylinders in the belt are armed with various gas and chemical pellets of standard size. These include blinding smoke bombs as well as disabling regurgitants and tear gases. Just stick with smoke bombs. Why the fuck do you need tear gas? You're Batman! Just punch the guy. Okay. The problem with this is that it's kind of bullshit. With all due respect to Batman, right? With all due respect to Batman, this is kind of bullshit. Like, I can imagine having the first aid kit, maybe, but I need some fucking pouches on this thing. It even has a pen light. A precursor to his more miniaturized finger light. Why do you... Why... Okay, you know what? This is an unhealthy approach to life. I'm taking a very doylist perspective to superhero design. I think the wrong question to ask is, why does he have all this crap? It's just... Like, it is definitely suspension of disbelief that you need to have. But I'm just such a curious person, and this explanation is so stupid in a lot of ways. Like, this is very obviously for children who to like pour over and be like, wow, Batman is so cool. I wish I had tear gas in my belt. And, you know, that's... I'm definitely the wrong target audience for this diagram. Okay, but yeah, some manner of utility belt. Or, I guess utility thingamajig. I'm thinking of a tool belt, aren't I? Just probably like a normal tool belt, yeah? There's gotta be like... It's crazy that this is actually... Hang on. It's crazy that this is actually kind of consistent. Batman's belt has always just looked like a bunch of cylinders on like a wide thingamajig. A leather belt with solid steel buckle and numerous metal compartments placed along its length. The utility belt is one of the foremost items in the Batman's arsenal against crime. I like how they call him the Batman. That's how you know that this is more old school. Batarangs fit in compartment behind belt. Sure, I'll believe that. It must be noted that the Caped Crusader is continuously updating and improving the contents of the utility belt, so the accompanying illustration shows merely an average sampling of its contents. This is just to avoid any children being like, hey, wait a minute, that wasn't in the diagram. Let's see what he's got in here. Infrared flashlight. Probably also functions as a normal flashlight. Smoke capsules. Really funny to me that seems to just be a huge beaker filled with smoke. Fingerprint dusting kit. Alright, that's cool. Miniature camera. Okay, cool. Lockpicking cool. Lockpicking tools. That makes sense to me. Tear gas belts. Very consistent with the tear gas. Did he get like a bulk discount on it at some point? Are they just like having blowout sales on tear gas in Gotham City every day? Microprocessor power source. Micro cassette recorder. Badline reel. Okay, sure. Laser torch. Laser torch. This thing looks like such a... What the fuck? Plastic explosive grenade. These are like the size of a Mike and Ike, and you made them look like actual pineapple grenades. What the fuck is your problem? Rebreathing apparatus, gotta have it. The laser torch I want to talk about a little bit more, because it's kind of pissing me off a little bit. Like, this thing, it just looks like it would be so... Well, that's probably why I'm not the Batman. I feel like if I tried to use this, I would end up lasering off my own first and second knuckles for at least most of my left hand. No way am I risking this shit with my bread and butter righty. I use that thing to write and hold sandwiches, among other things. Actually, am I a left-hander for sandwiches or not? I'm trying to think, actually. I don't know. I think I'm very sandwich ambidextrous. I don't particularly favor one hand or the other. I just try to... I mean, I usually two-hand sandwiches, right? Like, I feel like it's been a long time since I've eaten a sandwich that I could feasibly one-hand. Most of the sandwiches that I've eaten, like, from my teenage years onward, have all been two-handers. They were not slight products for merely topping up the gas tank. These were substantial meals. All right, let's look up tool belt. Actually, why not just utility belt? Huh, all right. Interesting distinction that they make between these two, all right? So, meaningfully, it seems to be similar. So, okay, this one's very cowboy themed. I'm weirdly enough getting some Happy Chaos vibes from this one. Oh, law enforcement. We don't need that crap. This tool set looks like you got it from IKEA. Alright, okay. I like the idea of like the buckle in the front, actually. That's for the hammer, that makes sense. Okay, so this is a utility belt. Compare that to a tool belt, which seems to be meaningfully the same thing. This one I'm kind of liking the looks of, though. I like that it's got I like that it has 3 different pockets, and I do like that instead of being front and center over the wing wang, you got the hammer loop on the left hand. You're actually dual wielding the hammer loop if you look carefully. You got one on each hand. Imagining some dude doing like the revolver ocelot pistol twirl with the 2 hammers on his utility belt. There's definitely somebody who has tried that at some point. And like undeniably, that's a thing that's happened. Okay, we can turn this off. Let's just actually grab this wholesale. And actually, while we're here, we might as well grab some references for some of the other stuff that we're looking up. Actually, the only other thing that I can think of for making it more obvious that he uses hidden weapons is to use ninja as like a theming, because those guys are like the primo example of dudes with hidden weapons. So maybe if I just look up like a ninja. Is there a Wikipedia article that has a... Hang on. Oh wow, I'm actually getting links to Ninja, the blending company. And also my browser has a little duck in a ninja costume now. That's pretty charming. So Wikipedia. Here we go. Yamato Takeru dresses a maidservant preparing to kill the Kumaso leaders. Wood block print on paper. Damn. Ninja historic illustration. It is kind of interesting that they did seem to wear a lot of black regardless. You know, I know that there's like that whole thing of like Kuroko, I think is their name, as a stagehands, and that's where the modern idea of ninja came from. Hang on, for ninja, Yamada Yuji, the professor of Mie University and historian Nakanishi Go announced that they had identified 3 people who were successful in early modern Ure-shino, including the ninja Benkei Muso. Muso is thought to be the same person as Denribo Raikei, the Chinese disciple of Marume Nagayoshi. It came as a shock when the existence of a foreign samurai was verified by authorities. Huh. Oh yeah, here's a bunch of the different little tools and everything. Yeah, I'm mostly thinking of like caltrops and small explosives, but... Because I don't think that he has the style to be using things like the chain and mace or the sickles like some of the other characters. Although maybe a grappling hook would be understandable. Probably throwing knives of some kind. I think that could be arranged. Let's grab this thing. Okay, and while we're at it, so maybe mechanic overalls. Huh. The cinched waist on this one is kind of crazy. Let me grab that real quick. Okay. I kind of like the vibe of this one, too. Okay, here we go. This is the middle one here is more of what I was looking for. What else we got? There's also this one, but that's meh. This one is very old school. How U.S. Army mechanic coveralls. Okay, yep, that tracks. Big Mac herringbone denim mechanic coveralls. Pretty sick. For some reason, I really like the idea of them having like the little hoodie grabbers on the feet. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to work since I do also want to emphasize his boots. It's a toughie. Whoa. Stance the fuck up. Alright. I think we're done here. Okay, I think with these and the original reference as well, I think we can start putting together something real good. So let's do that. I mean, we can probably isolate the one in the middle here. I don't think we necessarily need the ones on either side. Sadly, I don't think the blue one's gonna make the cut. I mostly took it because I thought the cinched waist was really funny. But in retrospect, it's gonna be a little bit tough to incorporate that. Okay, let's put the tool belt down here, and let's put the Warrior of the Shadows somewhere around here. And that leaves us this nice tidy little space on the right to redesign him. Okay, so I do think that the defining character trait for this guy is his boots. And also his build. I want to make him like a huge dude. He needs to be enormous. So let's see. Sort of like this, basically. Maybe even wider, to be quite honest. Yeah, just like the upper torso over here. There we go, like that. The legs can also be kind of big, but I do want them on the shorter side. Yeah, this guy's whole thing is that because he isn't able to fight like others, he tries to condition himself to be in like peak human form, but it has its ups and downs. Something that always throws me off about Clip Studio Paint is that the camera for 3D models is kind of absolute. If you move the model to the right, like it moves it without moving the camera too. It's only if you move the entire layer that it moves properly. It is a little annoying. Okay, so let's begin with the two most important parts, which are the boots. And yeah, I actually did have a special design for these, and I think I'm gonna bring it back this time around. They're supposed to have little rose patterns on the boots. I think I didn't include them because I was worried they'd be too much of a hassle, but honestly, I can just add a flower pattern to the boots. It's not that hard. Shouldn't be that hard, at least. And since this is just concept design, we don't need to go super big on the details. Okay, then like this, and like that. And there we go, that's a nicely made pair of boots. The other thing that I wanted to make sure to keep was like the expression and the hair. Although I'm not... Actually, the hair might be a little bit negotiable because... Hang on. Should I give him like a crooked nose as well? Maybe not. Although it would be kind of cute looking. God, I do like the idea of just giving him completely round pupils. I think it really gives a lot of credence to the idea that he's just exhausted. Or stressed out constantly. I do also like the idea of giving him some very feminine eyelashes. Oh, actually, maybe in these like bigger, not necessarily expressive, but like more encompassing eyes, I think might actually be the right move. Okay. Kind of just being like a big mess of fluff. I am wondering if I should maybe make one side of it longer. No, I feel like having it just be like a huge mess of bad head is probably for the best. Oh yeah, the other thing that I need to keep on is the jacket. So the reason that it looks a little small on him in the picture is because it is actually small on him. I did design that intentionally. Like, this jacket belonged to someone else before him, and he was a much more slim person. So when he inherited it, I do like to think that he just tried to straight up put it on, and now it's like bursting at the seams. Because he's built so much thicker than the other guy. The only problem with that is that it... Maybe I've been brain poisoned by the menswear Twitter guy, but I do feel like now it just looks bad whenever you can clearly see the outline of muscle on a jacket. Hang on, so what if I look up jacket too small? There is a handy diagram here. Just right, too small, too big. These look... Oh, wait, so this is for how the way the bottom of the jacket sits on you. I see. For a second I thought it was the sleeves, and I was losing my mind because these pictures looked identical to me on the sleeve front. Too big. Okay, I see. I think I get it. Maybe. In any case, I think as long as the jacket is relatively... What we could do is make the kind of lining of the jacket. I do think the jacket would have fit the other person a little bit big on him. So maybe what we can do is we can just stretch out the cuff of the jacket, and then for the rest of this, it's just a little bit looser. Something like that. And then we are gonna have still the kind of fleece lining on the top of the jacket. But yeah, I try to pay a lot of attention to the jacket, and especially for this particular setting, I make it a special point to pay attention to the jackets of the characters because I want to make that very meaningful to the character. In this guy's case in particular, he's wearing somebody else's jacket, which I think can have a lot of connotations with regards to meaning. I feel like it's pretty significant that in a setting where everybody wears a jacket that kind of represents their ideals or where they're at in terms of their character arc, the fact that he's wearing somebody else's jacket kind of says, okay, this guy, he's either trying to follow their example, he's destined to follow their example, or maybe he's just trying to fit in with the group that that person was from. And all those are basically true. I'm actually gonna rotate the arm a little bit just so that it's falling down more evenly because I think that's gonna make him look a little bit hunched over, and I like the idea of that. Oh yeah, how could I forget gloves? We could also give him gloves to make him look more mechanic-like. Okay. Now we do also have to be careful, otherwise the mechanic vibe is going to bleed over into a gardener vibe. And while that is also kind of a fascinating concept, it's not what we're going for necessarily. Okay. So trying to think about the jumpsuit and everything. Although I guess we should probably duplicate this arm first. Okay. Yeah, maybe just a little bit less wide than that. That's the stuff. I've been thinking a lot recently about Absolute Batman and how everybody in that comic is just built like a I like this phrase in particular, shit brick house. I it's the opposite of well, I guess it's not the opposite, but it is a play on brick shit house. I don't know, shit house as a word is just not one that really rolls off the tongue quite as easily as some other compound cuss words, it feels like. Feels like it's got a tough one. It has its one moment, its 15 minutes though, into the form of that one specific phrase. Hmm. Maybe I could give him like a mask of some sort to kind of keep up with the ninja idea. I'm also gonna remove the muscle line here because I feel like we could just define that later. Okay. Trying to think of a good balance to strike here, because on the one hand, I don't want to make it too much, right? You don't want to draw like 15 things and then get caught up in each of those things. So it's hard to understand what to prioritize. Oh, actually, you know what could actually work for making the ninja illusion kind of more obvious is adding ties to his boots. Like this. As an alternative to having laces. I think that and then kind of going like this. I feel like there's something there. I think I might be delusional, but I feel like there is something there. I think it also adds to this kind of beat up look. I do think that having to tie your shoes with rope around your entire ankle and calf, I do think that is very broke behavior compared to just having normal shoelaces. So that's what we're gonna do. I want this guy feeling very scruffy and mechanical. Okay, and what we might have next is... Actually, could we have, like, the overalls half undone? No, that's too much. That's too much. I do like the idea of him wearing the utility belt and just kind of sacking a little bit with the boxers. But then there's the issue of what to do with the shirt. Unless I make it like a crop top, which isn't out of the question, but it would definitely be a little strange. Let's follow my heart for now. My heart says a little bit of boxer speaking through is okay. We'll figure out the rest later. Okay. Maybe not directly over the PP. I do think maybe the utility belt being directly over the dick has like already with the boxers, he's gonna look a little bit like a stripper. I feel. So I think maybe the utility belt being directly over the penis is a little bit. It's a bit much. I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot to take in. You have to practice some temperance. His internal thoughts. Yeah, my boxers may be showing, but what they don't know is that I have another pair underneath they can't see. Checkmate. That would be kind of crazy, actually. You know, we've all seen the. Also, hi, Ryan. We've all seen the douchebag double polo shirt, right? Like, we've all seen. Hang on. Double polo. Like, we've all seen, like, the very stereotypical guy that's wearing two polos, right? We've all seen this. Perhaps not in the wild, but we understand it intrinsically. What if we have the idea of just a guy wearing two sets of boxers, maybe not even a shirt, is kind of hilarious to me, actually. Wait, why does this have legs? Oh my god, that actually looks really good. I can't lie, that's actually kind of heat. God, what do I do with this knowledge? Alright, you know what? Character design is a lot about iteration. This could be the one iteration where he has the double sag boxers. You know why? Because I love myself. I give myself grace and leniency, perhaps a little bit too much on occasion. But I understand that I have to be kind to myself in order to progress as a human being and as an artist. So you know what? We can do a little bit of self-indulgence in stupid-ass fashion here. We can take this bit to the next level. I do also like that this seems to lengthen the body significantly. I shan't lie, that is a favorite feature of this, is that it makes his torso just seem really stupidly long for whatever reason. Let me take a quick look at I think I made the utility belt too thin. I need to thicken that bad boy up. Of course, there's also the fact that this is probably not good. If I ever do end up using this guy for an actual story, or if I end up making a comic featuring this guy, which is very, very unlikely, all things considered, there is this exercise that I like to do where after I draw a banger character design, I'm like, hell yeah. All right, now I'm just not going to look at this and I'm going to try to draw this from memory. And usually what happens then is that I can simplify the design down quite a bit because only the parts that stick to my memory are what I'll be like, all right, that's worth remembering. That's going to be like the canon part of it. Hang on, I need to look at Saga jeans. Why are so many of these GTA 5 mods? Seriously, like almost all the search results for sagged jeans are GTA 5 mods. What the hell? Hang on. GTA 5. Hang on. Sagged pants. Sagging in fashion, here we go. Sagging is a manner of wearing trousers that sag. Hang on. Let me put this on the Jumbotron. That sags so the top of the trousers or jeans is significantly below the waist, sometimes revealing much of the wearer's underpants. Predominantly a male fashion, women's wearing of low-rise jeans to reveal their G-string underneath, called the whale tail, is not generally described as sagging. Could this be due to gender inequality? A person wearing sagging trousers is sometimes called a sagger, and in some countries this practice is known as low riding. Okay. Huh. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. There's not really a lot of this. There's not really a lot to this article besides just describing it and a lot of the controversy surrounding it. So many laws attempting to just to mitigate this. It's really kind of ridiculous that it's wasting so much time on that, but you know what? We don't need to think about all that. All we need to think about is our art. No, the shorts is too much. I'm not doing shorts. I was briefly considering the shorts, and then I was like, you know what? No, the shorts is too much. Could I maybe do some kind of cuff on the top? God, the most serious character design I've done in recent memory is probably for that one, whatchamacallit, not Symphony of the Night, Blood Saint Ritual of the Night. That one stream where I designed like a whole outfit for myself based on the main character's outfit. What I found for myself is that a lot of my design is they and this is something that I'm kind of struggling with actually, or that I feel like I would struggle with. I kind of want to be good at it, but I also don't have a lot of opportunities where designing is a lot of very frustrating kind of hard work, especially if you're trying to take it seriously. It feels like. Because it really is just like being like, okay, I've worked really hard to come up with an idea for this. I put my butt, sweat, and tears into this concept. I want to see it succeed. What do you mean I have to make 5 more of them? And my issue is that for me, that making 5 more of them almost always just feels like iterating on the same thing. I feel like for a lot of them, I'm not taking it sufficient enough of a different direction to be like, yeah, okay, this is a different design. Like, it looks different, but it's not a different design. So it's a struggle. Okay. So that's the sagged pants. Honestly, no shirt would probably be fine for this, but... I mean, like, he has to have something. There could be some kind of symbolism to him only wearing undersized clothing. But I feel like a lot of that would be lost in translation. Also, the thing is that also immodesty doesn't mesh well with like the idea of like this guy being a robotics expert. Like right now, he just looks like a construction-themed stripper, a little bit. Hey, I forgot to give him the logo that I made for him. Okay. Yeah, this is a lot all over the place. Hang on. I'm gonna look up ninja again. I feel like I'm not gonna gain much from this. Yeah, no, I don't think I gained anything from it, quite frankly. But that's okay. Okay, well, this is just one idea. Let's take a step back and review what worked and what didn't. Okay, so the jacket and the arms, I like the kind of general frame of it. The part under the jacket is what's troubling me a lot. As funny as I do think the double sag is, I don't think it communicates the right icons for this guy. The boots with the rings around them also look a lot lamer than I thought they would. Let's get rid of that. I wonder if there's a way that I can have my cake and eat it too, so to speak. Because I really want to be able to have the boots shown off, because I want to make the pattern on them very obvious. But I feel like maybe, hang on, maybe if I just move the pants down a substantial amount, that might be able to help us to expose some of the hang on, so cuffed jeans with boots. Huh. Okay, interesting. So if I may bring your attention to Exhibit A over here. Okay. There's actually I hadn't considered that we could just not lace the boots all the way up, or maybe make the boots actually a little bit shorter, because these also still technically qualify as boots. But quite frankly, the idea of the pants being tucked into the boots like this, I think fits in really well with the idea that we're going for here. So let's try and do that. Yeah, belay the pants lowering real quick. Okay. Let me just have that open in the background here, so I can see it while I draw. Okay. I love the word belay. It sounds a lot like the word delay, which I think carries an appropriate kind of... Maybe it's just a happy coincidence, or maybe the words are related after all. But I like the idea of it also being connected to delay, because I do think it is a... I don't know. I like the word delay instead of like stop, because of the fact that delay just means, wait, we have to figure out something first before we do this thing. Stop is like, very definitive, like stop having fun. But belay is like, wait, hang on, we might have something else to take care of first. Okay. Okay, and then the other flap up. And it's gonna kind of come around like so. Honestly, this is working really good. And then this might be over salting the soup, but I do also want to include the big pockets from the utility belt back here. Okay. God, I love how they just have pockets hanging off of pockets hanging off of pockets on some of these. We're reaching technology for storage that should not have been conceivable on a human person. It's like that jacket that had like 250 something thousand pockets. You guys remember that? I used to think that was the coolest thing ever. Hang on, let me see. Maybe I can pull up a picture of it, actually. Hang on. Most pocket jacket. Was it this one? It might have been this one. I remember it looking very Matrixy. Maybe there's a, hang on. 10 best packable Jane rackets that won't let you down? Travel jackets with hidden pockets? Maybe. Top 35 different types of pockets, a detailed guide? That actually sounds like a fascinating read. Hang on. 3 types of... Okay, you say that there's 35 different types of pockets, but now you say there's 3 types of pockets. What is the truth? There are 3 main sorts of pockets, but there are also other kinds inside each of those kinds of pockets. Oh, okay. And there are patch pockets, which are a sort of pocket that is made by placing a patch of fabric on top of a garment, wrong side down, then top stitching it in place. Occasionally, the pocket may be bagged out, which implies that top stitching would not be seen unless it was done so as a design element. There are other variations of the patch pocket style as well. Okay. Inseam pockets. Okay, those are like the pockets in jeans, and then there are inset pockets. A pocket that has been placed into the main body of the garment is known as an inset pocket. Consider the inner pocket of a tailored coat for men, the rear pockets on a woman's slacks, and the welt pockets on men's fitted jackets. Welt pocket. Accordion pocket, very nice. Bellows pocket, can't go wrong with that. The bosom pocket. Not a fan of that one, actually. Bias bound pocket, that one kind of... I don't like this one. Cargo pocket, gotta love it. Coin pocket, absolutely useless. Very mid. Don't know why they let it take up a character slot. Chest pocket, this is basically the same thing as the bosom pocket or the bellows pocket. You're just saying that it's different because it's on a jacket or on a chest. Cuff pocket. Hold on. This one's kind of heat. A decorative patch pocket known as a cowl pocket has fabric folds draped around the opening like a scarf. Wait, this one's kind of sick, actually. I like this one. Curved inset pocket. Okay. Discrete pocket. The pocket that's so discrete it doesn't even have an image to convey it. Okay. Cowl pocket. Okay, cool. Extending pocket. That can grow if necessary. Designs include folds, pleats, tucks, and gathers. Includes provisions for this expandability. That's kind of sick, actually. I like that. Folk pocket. That doesn't count as a pocket. It doesn't count as a pocket if you can't actually use it. Flap pocket. Okay, I can kind of... Even if you don't include a picture, I can more or less imagine what that is. Hacking pocket. Men's suit jackets and type of coats and pockets will include this type of slanted pocket, situated at the level of the waist. Huh. Jetted, jeans, kangaroo, pork chop pocket. Okay, I like that one actually. Open pocket. One of the most popular styles of pockets in clothing is the split pocket. You most have noticed something in your pants' rear pocket. It is so named because all that can be seen from the pockets from the outside are their slits. A pocket bag is fastened to the... What are you talking about? What does that have to do with an open pocket? This is a waste of my time. We were looking at jackets that had a lot of pockets in them. Yeah, I remember there was like a Oh, these are just the ones that can be packed into themselves. You know what? We're wasting our time here. We don't need to think about all that, and we especially don't need to think about the guy who's wearing 2 polo jackets at once. We can remove the collarbones here if we lower this a little bit. Actually, maybe we can just put this on the middle pocket here. Okay. Okay. But yeah, this already has much more sauce, especially with the shoes and everything. This already has a lot more sauce than the previous one. Alright. Third go around. We might make this one the last one for tonight. And then just go around coloring a little bit. I'm really liking the bottom hem of the pants. I'm really liking the lower half. I think the middle half is what we're still kind of lacking direction with. I think maybe instead of having a discrete belt, what we could have is just a seamless transfer from the bottom to the top. And then maybe having like a kangaroo, in the spirit of having like a kangaroo pocket. Instead of having this all the way up here, maybe it can be almost like all the way down here. I think that works pretty well, actually. Maybe even if we add a couple of attaches here to the middle of the leg. What was that pork chop pocket again? Hang on, that might actually fit in pretty well here. Ah, yes, okay. So it's gonna be squarish, and then... like that. Maybe he should be wearing a hard hat or something. But yeah, I think this is sufficient to communicate the idea. Actually, I'm gonna get rid of that... of the kangaroo pocket. Looking at it from the distance, all this is kind of disrupt the silhouette a little bit too much. Like, this just looks so much neater, and you can still... oh my god, the idea of the double underwear actually survives through this, because it's still... this is still technically the double underwear sag with the two lines here. What I'm thinking is that each of these lines is basically got, like... you can just kind of reach your hand. Hang on. You can just kind of reach your hand in there and grab whatever you need, right? That looks a little inappropriate. Let's stop doing that. But yeah, these could also just serve as pockets up there. What I'm not confident about is this thing here, but at the same time, we can just use that for the logo. Or actually, maybe we could have it be like this. Actually, that works pretty well. I like that. Maybe we could do it like this. Okay, so this is gonna go in whoop, 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 whoop. I don't know where else to fit the logo if not there. But yeah, this is perfect because now we have access. We have everything we need. We have the slightly more mechanical looking vibes. We have, or actually, I did want to add a welding mask somewhere too, but maybe that's okay. We don't need the welding mask. Maybe we can almost have it like a shoulder pad. I'm always hesitant about adding armor on the exterior of characters. I feel like that has a very specific vibe that it gives out that is very medieval fantasy. But I do like the idea of just giving him an arm, like an armband there. Maybe on the left arm, though. Yeah, that seems good. Okay, I like this one the most, but let's go back and review a little bit. Right? It's important to go back and see what you liked about each one and what you didn't like. Looking back, this first one really is kind of audacious, isn't it? But you see what I mean? I feel like rather than creating different designs, all I've done is iterate on the same design. At least between these two. This first one is definitely an entire different guy. This is like an entirely different dude. I don't know who that is. Wasn't me. I'm gonna drink some water. But yeah, still not sure how to more accurately indicate that he uses hidden weapons. Maybe could I just like add a kunai to? Hang on, maybe that's a move here. Instead of having a nondescript square here interrupting the armband, we could have a kunai. Or some manner of throwing knife. I don't know. Yeah, maybe just having a couple of those sticking out, which should be fine. No, having too many also makes it look like that's just part of the design. I think two is enough. Two is sufficiently indicative that, hey, this guy is carrying some hidden knives. Okay. Let's go and do that. I do think having the brighter color might be better for the head. For some reason, I'm remembering that one. Have any of you read the comic not Paranatural? Hang on, Supernatural, Paranormal. Oh yeah, no, it would be Paranatural. I forgot. Paranatural is a really funny webcomic. I started reading it in middle school. It's been updating little by little ever since then. I think the author had a repetitive stress injury eventually and had to switch out for doing that very specific type of webcomic update where it's like basically a light novel illustration. That is no disrespect, by the way. The fact that they're willing to continue telling that story even through their injury is nothing short of admirable and should have nothing but the utmost respect for it. That being said, I think I lost track of the story at some point when they switched over the format. So that's my bad. Yeah, I like that dark brown for the jacket. I do also like the idea of him having like very thin, pale, wispy hair. Hang on, I'm gonna turn off the orange light on my monitor for this. Okay. Also, I think he looks too... He doesn't look ashy enough. I want him to look like a very anemic, very sickly looking person. Maybe that's too ashy though. Maybe that's a little too much. He can have a little bit more no, that somehow that looks really red now though. That looks like he's a little sunburned actually. But yeah, I like the idea of him being mostly grays and dark colors, but having just these random, super bright shocks of color. I do worry that having too bright of a red hair will make everybody think he's like the fire element guy when that's the other natural redhead in the group. But yeah, I do like the idea of swapping out the intensities. So like the overalls are now like the... So previously it was like super bright inner part, very dull outer part. Now I want it to be almost different, where it's like a few critical points are super bright, but then everything else is like really dull. Okay. Gonna remove this little mouth line here. I'm actually gonna move it up a little bit further too. I need to avoid giving everybody in my characters like the dark under eye circles. They just look so good. Wait, actually the oh no, the Tims actually look kind of good. But we must resist. There are greater rewards ahead of for us if we manage to resist. See, this color doesn't mesh as well because it's like, I don't know how to put it. I like the idea that it's one solid color, but it can't be this one. Can't be that one either, because having it be too dark is also not the right vibe. Maybe having it be also a shade of brown. I think that might actually help quite a bit. Hmm. Now I'm not sure about the shape of the inside pocket here. Maybe it should be the other way around. Ooh. Ooh, baby, I'm liking that a lot. Yeah, now the more I look at it, the more I'm convinced that this should be also a normal colored spot. Maybe this section? No. Hmm. Also, I think I might have made him too ashy. He looks too iron deficient. Like, he should look unhealthy, but not like unhealthy enough that he shouldn't be standing around. It's a very delicate balance. Also, maybe I might have been a little bit too aggressive with the hair. Imagine him like being like new hashtag new profile pic and somebody being like, a smile might be nice. Nothing to smile about in my life. That's literal. That's him. That's how he operates. Hair matches the shirt? Sure, why not? Okay, let me just erase this part here, and this inside part here, and then this outside part here. Perfect. Oh yeah, I forgot the most important part. I still need to add the hang on. The flower pattern to the boots. So hang on. Rose pattern. How about this one? Scale/rotate. Not quite what I had in mind. The thing is that I made them very... I remember making them very Utana-like roses, which is a little bit of a tall ask, I suppose. Alright, just this once we're gonna do it, we'll do it hand style. I don't know where the idea of giving him rose-patterned boots came from. I think I saw a really good pair on Tumblr one time and I was like, damn, that would be sick on this guy. Okay. Oh, I actually missed a little bit of the pants over here. Recently, I've caught myself thinking a lot about that burger pants guy from Undertale. I kind of miss him. He used to be somebody to me. Not that he's like fallen for grace or anything. It's not like he's on fraud watch or anything. I don't know though. Like the other day I caught myself thinking I miss Goku, right? And I think what I actually miss is like the feeling that Goku gave me as a kid. I think like back then when I saw Goku, I felt something much more special than what I feel when I look at him now. I don't know. It makes me sad. Good news, Burger Pants is still alive and well. And of Goku, what are the news of Goku? Good news, Mr. Burger Pants is alive. Do you remember Mr. Basculin? That one green text? Or it's like, good news, Mr. Basculin is alive, and somebody's like, who cares? I really like the... I hope that the Mr. Basculin guy is alive and well. Goku's just got Super Saiyan 4, it's all good. Oh, thank God. I never had any doubts my goat was... My goat was still on top of his game, but it's good to remember every once in a while. Actually, I really like the idea of the rose pattern being very dense at the bottom and then easing up as it kind of goes along. Again, this is fine because if I ever make a comic with this, that's my thing, right? I'm always thinking in terms of like if I had to make a comic of this, would drawing this character design like 50 times from like 5 different angles make me want to kill myself? That is my golden rule for when I draw a character. Is if I had to draw them 50 times from like 5 different angles, would it make me want to kill myself? And overwhelmingly, the answer that I have with the ones that I create is no, and that's a good thing. But it's also why I'll never be able to like make ones that are like as, like I'll never be able to make ones like, I'll never make it as like a Genshin knockoff artist, for example. I could never like make myself draw such complicated ass character designs. Of course, those are 3D models, so you only have to draw them once. But but it's still the same principle. Honestly, I like this a lot. I like how I do dare say it's a glow up. I do think it communicates the aspects of the character that I wanted it to communicate much more clearly. I think back in the day, I had too much of an obsession with making the characters look like normal people wearing normal people clothing. And while that wasn't necessarily a bad thing, and it did give me a lot of valuable insights into what is practical and what isn't, I do also think you do need to remind yourself that we're just playing toys out here. We are literally all just playing toys out here. So it's okay if it's a little bit strange. It's okay if it's a little bit unrealistic. You should design like one Genshin tier complicated design for fun, and then you dumb down for later use. That yeah, that is kind of the approach I take. I did mention that earlier. Like I tend to like draw like this super complex, very beautiful initial design, and then eventually I just end up dumbing it down enough, and then eventually I'm like, okay, that's how I'm gonna draw them from now on. I don't know. That would be kind of a fun idea for a stream, though. Like, just starting how many filters, right? Before we, how many like simplification filters can we apply to a character before they become like literally unrecognizable from their original selves? I feel like that needs to be like a horseshoe thing, though. We need to start with like a medium complexity design and then make it both over designed, and then like see, okay, this is over designed. How do we narrow it down? How do we like unelaborate on it? I feel like that'd be a very powerful brain exercise. You would need to first. You would need to have like a strong character design, though. It'd have to be like a multi-parter. Also, I do need to add something to the armband. Otherwise, I feel like there's going to be, I don't know, having an armband just for the sake of the armband looks whack as well. This can also qualify as some of the hidden weapons. Fuck it, maybe these are exploding pens. Somebody just like randomly grabs one off his armband, like, "Hey, can I borrow a pen?" And he's like, "No, no, no!" And like you hear an explosion off in the middle distance, and he's like, fourth time that's happened this week." I do also think it's just healthy for things in a design to have a purpose. The thing is that you need to strike a fine balance between like this. I made this with intent, and this is what it's supposed to be, and like getting into that mindset of, oh, I know everything that my character eats for every single day meal of their life. I feel like that's also it could be fun, of course, but I feel like that's also the wrong approach to character design, because then you're not designing a character, you're like playing The Sims. And that can also be detrimental to your design. Like, I feel like having too many data points like that is going to hurt you in the long run. But yeah, I think that's done. I think that's good to go. I will mourn slightly the loss of the tummy window. I will say, like I am going to miss you can just like stick your hands on his hips like that and use his abs as hand warmers. That was a pretty big plus of the previous design, but time has to progress. We have to march forward with our future. Maybe just a little bit of shading on the hair. But yeah, I think that's pretty good. I don't know what else we can fit into stream for today. I think we're... I know we've only been going for an hour and a half, but honestly, I don't really see what else we can do. There's nothing wrong with keeping these short and sweet, quite frankly. It's good to have a mission and then seek out to complete it. Yeah, honestly, yeah, I think I'm just gonna end things here for today. Is anybody else streaming right now? Oh, there's a couple of different people. Hey, Sif is doing stuff. Sketching a battle jacket and then maybe finishing a painting. Nice, okay. Let's go say hi to Sif then. In the meantime, I will see you all on Thursday. Thanks for hanging out, and I will... Guy who might have been through it a few times. Yeah, he does look a little dead inside, huh? Alright. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me. I had a lot of fun doing this. I think it was sorely needed. And I will see you all later. Bye.